we get to Vegas, NASCAR rolled out their short track package for the rest of the season, and questionably the tracks they're using it at. Obviously, what they did, they took off some of the flanges or whatever on
Diffuser
the
strikes.
diffuser. Thank you, diffuser strikes.
And engine strikes too.
Yeah.
Yep.
To decrease the downforce, and clean up, I guess, clean up the dirty air that was being created from the diffuser, because at such low speeds, it wasn't, the diffuser wasn't working properly. That's why we have extra horsepower than we were gonna have. That's why we have more than 550, is because the diffuser wouldn't work with such low horsepower. Now, so we're getting rid of that, and then we're going down to a 2-inch spoiler, which we love that, obviously, small blade. But yeah, Seth, go ahead, go over the tracks.
Okay, so it coincides with all the tracks we can run wet weather tires at.
Yeah, so that's what, Wilkesboro, Richmond,
Martinsville,
Bristol Dirt, question mark?
No, we can't run rain.
No.
At Bristol Dirt. Bristol Dirt's its own package.
That's right.
Yeah. Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it's the morning. I should have written this down.
I think it's all the flatter.
Oh, and the road courses.
The road courses, all the flatter 1 mile and under, and then the road courses. No Dover, no Bristol. Dover, I can understand, but Bristol is frustrating.
So, yeah, the explanation for it that like Bob and everybody gave is obviously that they're not running the rain package at Bristol. So I understand that. How hard would it be to do these things and not run mud flaps and a fucking windshield wiper?
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard at all, I would imagine. I mean, it's extremely frustrating that this has become the fate of the Bristol Dirt or the Bristol Night Race.
Yeah.
At least for the foreseeable future, because we said it last year. You go back and listen to our podcast for the Bristol Night Race last year. It was one of the worst races in our lives, and nothing's going to change this year.
Yeah, and I would argue that they should do. And one of the arguments I saw, I could see not running this at Dover. 2-inch spoiler might be just or that amount of downforce.
Dover wasn't terrible last year.
It wasn't terrible, and the cars were still kind of like snappy, I guess would be the way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't rush to change too much at Dover. But Bristol, running the same package I wrote on Twitter is going to be a mistake. I would argue the argument I saw made for not doing it at Bristol was that it would be the only one we did that without the rain package. Well, I would argue we need that at Darlington too. So then that would be 3 races. And even then, that's not a big difference. Just not running mud flaps what else? There's the light on the back for the rain package.
Well, it's like the light, the mud flaps, the tires, the windshield wipers. That's all I can imagine. Yeah. Maybe, I mean, they probably have a defogger, which may take amps from
just don't plug it in.
But exactly. Yeah, I don't see we used to run all that stuff on road courses even when there was 0 chance of rain.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect the performance of the car. It doesn't affect really anything that at least we know of. So it's just, it is kind of frustrating that that's the route they went for that. But they're also listening to Actions Detrimental this past week. Denny Hamlin said we could basically forget ever getting higher horsepower than what we have now. He said you're living in your own fantasy world if you think that's going to happen. But he said we could simulate having a little bit extra horsepower by limiting the amount of grip we have. And by doing that, NASCAR is considering grooved tires. What do you think about that?
I think for our current situation, it sounds like the best option. But it's another thing where we created a problem and then we have to fix it. And by create that problem, I don't even mean the horsepower. I mean making the contact patch so wide. And that alone created, not alone, but that's like 60-70% of the problem. But yeah, groove tires do seem to be a good idea. Now, I did see a concern raised. It was on Reddit, so take it for what it's worth. Just throwing it out here. It could make heating the tire a little off. Like certain parts of it will get warmer than others, and that could create some problems. I don't really know. Apparently,
I
that
feel like
was,
a lot of that would just be camber adjustments
yeah, maybe.
too.
But apparently, that was a big problem in F1 back when they ran groove tires. So
And
I
that's
don't
what I'm
really
worried
know.
about. Like, I mean, we've seen F1, they've run them before, and didn't Champ Car run groove tires?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And really it was tough to handle if I remember correctly, right? And
Yeah.
Goodyear hasn't always been the best, and NASCAR teams have not always been the best at managing tire wear and tire blowouts. So that's the only concern I really have. Other than that, I mean, it's a almost an ingenious idea but you're right though. We created this problem and now we got to fix it in kind of an unconventional way. So
I think if they do it, they're gonna have to make camber rules.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would definitely be in place. But I mean, it would be interesting because they probably, I mean, I would imagine they're going to cost more too.
At least the development. I think once they get it,
Yeah,
it won't be that bad because I think tires are just made in like a mold. So
yeah,
once you make that, it's not that bad.
I get okay, yeah. But so we'll see what happens. Denny Hamlin said that it could take our 670 that we currently have now, and he said it would make it feel to the drivers like we had 900. So that's a great sign if
Yeah.
that's really true.
That's exciting. I'd love to be able to talk to Denny and be like, obviously you're in the car. It might drive like that. I'm very curious to see whether it look like that to us.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. It's one of
Yeah.
those things we
Well,
just
I mean, I think it would. He said it would just decrease the amount of grip they had.
yeah.
He said you'd be slipping off the corners trying to put the power down because you don't have as much tires on the ground.